We're good.
I call to order Planning Commission, City of Oroville, 22nd of, remember what month? May?
April.
I knew I was going to do it. April 2021. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Flicker?
Here.
Commissioner Britton?
Here.
Commissioner Sheard?
Here.
Commissioner Eris?
Here.
Commissioner Hallen? Commissioner Jenkins?
Here.
Chairperson Durling?
Here.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Okay, this is a time where someone has something that's not on the agenda and wants to take a moment to bring it up to the commission. The commission cannot act on it or really discuss it. It's not opportunity for you to make the commission aware of some subject of interest. Seeing none. Consent calendar. Need a motion or any discussion on approval of the minutes for two meetings, January 28th and March 4th. Anybody have any corrections or?
Approve the minutes of January 28th, 2021 and March 4th, 2021.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any change?
I don't have anything.
Tap it.
Anybody want to make a change? It's approved, looks like.
Glenn.
Commissioner Eris, can you tap your screen and
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
can
Just
you
say
vote,
yes.
please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The minutes carry with 5 yeses, 1 no, and 1 absent.
Okay. On to public hearings. The first public hearing is on a tentative parcel map 20-01. Staff, you got a presentation for us?
Yes, thank you, Chair Durling and Commissioners and assembled public. Wes Irvin, City Planner. This tentative parcel map is a necessary precondition to building the Riverbend Apartments, which this body approved back last year, about 6-7 months ago. So some of the commissioners were not on this body at that time. The tentative parcel map takes 10 parcels on 7 acres and reduces them to 2 parcels. And the city engineer has reviewed them and approved them, and Planning Commission approval is required. This project has been approved, has been entitled, and the building plans are complete and approved as well. So they're ready to start construction as soon as this map is approved.
That it? Is there any questions of staff? I'll open the public hearing on item 2, tentative parcel map. Anybody from?
Public members, I would like to remind anyone that would like to speak tonight that there are blue speaker cards on the wall on the right-hand side of the room. And if you would like to speak on an item, to please fill out the blue speaker card before the item comes up and please hand it to me. With that, anyone that would like to speak on item 2 before, because I don't have any blue speaker cards. Okay. Mr. Chairperson, there are no blue speaker cards for item 2, and I did not receive any written communication.
I can understand, yes.
There are no speakers on this item.
Nope.
There are no speakers on this
Okay.
item.
No. Okay, seeing nothing from audience, we'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the commissioners. Any discussions or comments, or anybody want to do a motion? It sounds like we're probably ready for a motion.
Yeah, I'll do a motion. Motion to adopt resolution number P 2021-02.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. Anybody want to discuss the motion?
Just for clarification, does this include the findings of the tentative parcel map and recommended
Yeah.
conditions of approval?
I thought that was part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Also, just as a note for the commissioners, if you don't want to read all the recommendations, you can say, just move to adopt the staff report as recommended, something like that. That shortens it, but it still works.
Do you want me to reread that one?
If your motion is to
Approve
adopt the
recommended
recommendation.
findings and recommend conditional approval and adopt the resolution.
Thank you.
So we ready?
The motion carries with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 3. It's a use permit, 2103, for construction of a new off-premise outdoor advertising structure, Feather River Boulevard. Staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Connor Musler, Planning Intern. This item is for a use permit to approve a new off-premise outdoor advertising structure at 2775 Feather River Boulevard. This is south of the Walmart and across the street from the K-Gas at Gold Dredger. So the billboard, as proposed, is a 12-foot by 24-foot sign face for a total sign area of 288 square feet per face, and the height measured from ground surface to the top of the sign is 35 feet. The sign is in a full flag formation, so it is the pole on one side with the sign face pointing towards the building. There are currently 2 buildings. The property is developed. It is a industrial, light commercial, light industrial development over there. Stott Outdoor Advertising, Greg Redeker, he's here, and he could answer any questions and give a little bit of background on the project. This billboard, to note, is not intended to be seen from State Route 70. This is meant for local traffic, so this does not fit into the city's new sign code regulations for increased height and increased sign area. This item was reviewed by the DRC at their April 8th meeting, and they recommend approval with the conditions.
Is that it? Okay. Open the hearing for this item. Is there an applicant here?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Durling and members of the commission. My name is Greg Redeker, and I am representing Stott Outdoor Advertising, the applicant for this project. I wanted to thank you for considering our application this evening. I also wanted to thank staff for recommending approval and also for the rapid pace with which this project has gone through the planning entitlement process. It's a very pleasant change compared to some of the other jurisdictions that we try to get permits in. I've read the staff report, agree with most of the conditions. We would ask for the commission's indulgence on a few of the conditions. The first one has to do with the location of the sign. If you look at pages 41 and 42 of your packet, this was discussed at the Development Review Committee. Basically, we're trying to avoid underground utilities and other facilities there. And so we've identified that an alternate location, basically 2 parking spaces to the south, might be a better spot. And so we would request some flexibility to do either the option 1 or the option 2, so that way we can avoid the underground facilities and minimize disruption to the existing businesses on the property. Second item would be the pole cover. This is condition number 15 of the staff report. In recent history, the city has required these for digital off-site signs, but I'm not aware of any situations where it has been recommended for a new static traditional off-site sign. So this is a very tight location. Anything that increases the width of the pole significantly is potentially going to result in removal of a parking space rather than just converting it to a compact. So we would request that that condition either be removed or that it be delayed until such time as the sign might get converted to a digital sign to be consistent with previous city actions in this regard. Let's see, landscaping, we are happy to repair any irrigation and replace landscaping that's damaged by our construction, but we just did want to note that this is an existing landscape planner and it is the responsibility of the property owner for ongoing maintenance. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for us, taking up only a tiny portion of the property, to be responsible for that entire landscape planter. And then lastly, power, condition number 19. This was discussed at the Development Review Committee. Our preference is for a new overhead electrical service. There are 2 transformers on poles right across Feather River Boulevard there. However, we do understand that that may not be something that the city wants to see. So if that is the case, that the city doesn't want to see that, we would request that condition 19 be modified to simply say that there shall be no new overhead electrical service to the sign. That way we have the option of either going solar on the sign or perhaps even omitting the lights altogether, rather than the current wording, which basically says we shall do underground electrical service. And so we just wanted to have a little bit of flexibility on that to do other things that are not an overhead electrical service. So that concludes my, my remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
You don't have a preference for either option 1 or option 2? I mean, I didn't understand.
Our preference is actually for option 2. Our original application was option 1. But we don't know honestly exactly where all the underground facilities are. So if you could give us a little bit of flexibility, that would be wonderful.
So you don't care which one, except you would make the choice based on underground utilities?
There is a slight preference for option 2 in terms of visibility with trees, in addition to the underground facilities issue, but either one can work.
Okay. Right. Is there anybody else from the audience on this item?
Mr. Chairperson, I do not have any blue speaker cards or individuals on Zoom asking to speak.
Okay.
This is not a digital sign, correct?
No, it is not.
Yeah. And how many signs do you maintain in the city of Oroville?
In the city limits, and not in the county area adjacent to the city, I would have to say it's probably around a dozen. It's fewer than we used to. We've had to remove a number of signs as portions of the city develop. For example, 2 of them came out when the new Maverick started construction. So we're still with fewer signs than we had, say, 2 years ago.
And are you responsible, I seen one sign, and I don't know if you own it or not. I think it was down Myers Street, and there was nothing on it. It looked terrible, right? It just looked like a blank space that needed paint. But are you responsible for maintaining those? Are you responsible for getting advertisement in there? What's the deal on those?
The short answer is yes, we are responsible for both maintaining them and putting advertising on the signs that we own. We do have a competitor out front, Outdoor Advertising, who also has gray colored signs. Their maintenance frequently leaves a lot to be desired. with not having the copy up and not maintaining the sign properly. Stott is an independent company. We've been based in Chico since we were founded in 1949. We take great pride in the appearance of our signs, especially for those in our home turf, which is Butte County.
So how does that work? If somebody backs out from an advertisement on a sign, is there a time limit by the city or by yourself that you either replace the advertisement or go in and paint, do something to make it look better than it is without the sign, you know
Sure.
what I mean?
Yeah. Most of our signs these days in this size, the 12 by 24, are actually a thin plastic material, polypropylene. And so those can be changed out very quickly. So if it is a Stott sign, which I doubt, it's probably an out front sign. But if it was one of our signs, if we received word that it was not looking good, we would send a crew out there same day to replace it with something. You know, if we don't have a paying advertiser, you may see these yellow and black ones that say your ad here. Those are the typical placeholders for when we don't have a paying advertiser.
So basically, it's a 24-hour period. If somebody reports it.
Once we know about it.
Okay.
But once again, I'm guessing these are probably our competitor.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know who
Sure.
owned it, right? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I have one.
Yes.
You're cantilevering about 22 feet.
Correct.
The engineering on that for wind load and so forth, it's got to be structurally really got to be something.
Yes.
Now that's all been handled and approved by staff or our engineering or?
Well, we haven't applied for the building permit yet because it costs money to draw up the plans, but I can say that very similar plans for other things. I mean, California building codes keep getting more and more stringent. They keep upping the miles per hour on the wind loading. And so as a result, the cost of our sign structures has continued to climb as they incorporate more steel and more concrete in the footing. But yes, it will be fully engineered and compliant with California building code and energy code, green code, and electrical code.
I think the anchor to the pole is what's going to be critical because if we get 70-mile-an-hour winds, the twist on that anchor is what's going to be critical to make sure the thing doesn't twist off and fall over.
The crossbar is actually called a torsion tube.
Yeah, I've seen that before. But,
Do you have any signs here in Orville that are of that design with like the flag already? I know you showed us the one that's a pole goes up the middle.
I would need to check. I know that we have some that are in county jurisdiction right outside the city limits along Highway 70 that are full flag, that are even bigger than this one. But, you know, it's all going to be done to building code. We have many years of experience of building these kind of signs, and we're fully insured, and we would not build this if we had any concerns about it potentially falling over or damaging anything.
well, I hope the staff pays a heavy attention to that critical part because that's a lot of load. Any other questions? You had one?
No, Glenn had one.
Yeah. Tell me about the electricity again.
Yes, our preference would be for a new overhead electrical service drop going across Feather River Boulevard, but staff is not recommending that be allowed. So what we're saying is if the commission agrees and doesn't want to allow that, we would request that the wording in condition 19 be changed to simply say there shall be no new overhead electrical service. Because right now, as it's written, it seems to imply that electrical service shall be provided to the structure via underground electrical service. And that would prohibit us from, say, for example, doing solar or omitting the lights altogether.
Are you not able to pull power from the existing building?
Well, we can pull power from the building, but that would need to be, that's not necessarily electrical service, that would just be a branch circuit.
So you need to come off a transformer? Is that what you're saying?
All I was saying is that, our preference is to do a new electrical service drop from the transformer. But if that isn't allowed, we would request that condition 19 simply be modified to say there shall be no new overhead electrical service.
So you don't want to go under? You can or cannot go underground?
Well, we don't necessarily want to do a new underground electrical service. That'll have to involve trenching across the driveway. We would prefer to do a branch circuit from the building, or do solar, or potentially even temporarily omit the lights altogether while we figure out what we're going to do.
So if you do a branch, did you say branch service from the building?
A branch circuit, yes.
Circuit, can you do that underground?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'd rather see that.
I don't understand.
Wired across from the river. Yeah.
Well, there is a power pole on the other, we discussed this at the DRC meeting. There's a power pole just south of the driveway.
Correct.
Can you cut over to there instead of again, I guess you're cutting through the
That's
driveway.
what I'm saying, we'd be cutting across the driveway and disrupting the businesses that are operating there.
Or you're cutting into the driveway or into their parking lot.
Right.
Same, you know.
So all we're asking for is that if you don't want to see the overhead electrical service, just do that, and then we'll figure out something that's going to work that's not going to have any overhead component.
Okay. And then tell me about the pole cover. It seems that we always approve these without any type of pole cover ever getting on there. It's always pushed off to a later date, to a building design or something. But this building's already designed. Is there a way to get a pole cover? If you have to engineer this flag type sign, maybe you can incorporate the pole cover in part of your structural design?
Well, the pole cover is basically an aesthetic treatment, and it's not bearing any part of the structural load. I'll be honest, the pro forma is pretty tight on this one.
Pardon me?
The pro forma is pretty tight on this one. And can we do one? Yes. Does it mean that the sign's going to pencil out? Maybe, maybe not. So if it is going to be a pole cover, we would request that it be a very small pole cover, a tight pole cover, not something that's many, many feet wide on either side of the pole, because that would interfere with the parking, and the property owner has told us they do not want to lose any parking spaces on the site.
Well, I mean, they're getting compensated, right? So I'm just saying that I just want to see another basic metal billboard. I like to see something that looks good. So.
If I could elaborate on the project-specific conditions. So the rationale for the pole cover was pretty much every digital display sign in recent that came before this body or city council for approval, that pole cover was one of the conditions. So that was in for DRC for discussion, and it was recommended to forward that on to Planning Commission to discuss whether that's something that we would want to see. The electrical service, that one was added because along that stretch of Feather River Boulevard, the buildings all receive their power from underground service. There are no drop electrical services to those buildings. So that was keeping with the look of the area to keep that electrical underground and clean. And then the landscaping, that was just if there's any disruptions, anything's removed or broken, that they would be responsible to replace that. That wouldn't involve any long-term maintenance. That's the responsibility of the property owner and their LMA.
Okay.
Well, one of the conditions you wanted to change to move that sign
To this, just 2 parking spaces to the south.
No, still the north side.
I know it's on the north side now.
Both of them are on the north side. That was brought up whether to move it to the south side of the driveway.
So your option 2 shows that sign in a path of travel.
Correct.
Is that, so you're going to move the path of travel in the handicap spot?
And that's what we're trying to figure out. Certainly, anything that ends up being there needs to fully comply with Title 24 and accessible requirements. And so that's why we're just asking for a little flexibility. We'll make sure that at the end of the day, everything still complies with the applicable codes.
The pole is in the planter box. It's in front of the parking, correct?
It actually straddles where the curb is right now that separates the parking area from the planter. 10 feet of that planter is in the public right-of-way, 3 feet of it is in private property. And so therefore, what we're looking at is taking one of those parking spaces and turning it into a compact space by putting the pole there and, putting a wheel stop or something like that. So we're just asking for that flexibility to do either the option 1 or the option 2.
Staff has no particular objection to the proposed conditions as presented.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Anything else from the, anyone else? Close the public hearing and any discussion of the commissioners or have a motion? And we have to be careful in the motion to have the right language, and staff can help us out there, right?
Mr. Chairperson, it looks like you have a commissioner in the queue.
Huh?
You have a commissioner in the queue that would like to speak.
We can't see the screen. We don't know if, Oh, can you see it up there?
Sheared?
Yes, that's me. Am I?
It's been up there since I've been here, so.
I mean, I just pushed it. I know it was, but that was from before. But I do want to speak on this issue.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah. When it came up, I thought, there's no change from
Yes,
since I've
I
sat
know.
here.
That's true. Billboards are extremely effective advertising. You can't turn the channel, you can't scroll away from them on your feed, and you can't turn the page. They're brilliantly designed and they're huge to capture your attention as you're driving along a boulevard. I believe that everything that makes them fantastic advertising makes them bad for a community and a boulevard like Feather River Boulevard. This billboard, I drove past where they want it to go, and it seems like that's Feather River Boulevard, where you're parallel to Highway 70. And from that place, you can see the billboards on Highway 70. You can't see what they're advertising, but you definitely have that visual block as you're looking at Table Mountain. There's a Chinese cemetery down a bit and across the street. I personally am strongly opposed to any more billboards in Orville. If Stott has 12, I don't know how many we have altogether. I personally think we have too many. They always decrease the property values where they go in. No one ever brags that they live in a town with a lot of billboards. We have to be very careful not to get too many of them. They're very demanding, and I would rather see that we demand attention of drivers who are visiting businesses that are on premise, on Feather River Boulevard. They have to abide by a lot of strict sign rules instead of having a large sign that would take any attention away from them. But most importantly, I don't believe that it fulfills the goals and the actions and policies of our general plan, our 2030 general plan. One of the goals and this is South Feather River Corridor, an important corridor in our town. Goal C2 says we are to maintain and enhance the quality of Oroville's landscape, streetscapes, gateways, and corridors. The city has done a lot of work, and I would love to see us continue to do that. Policy 7.3 seeks to ensure that we have features along corridors, such as Feather River Boulevard, that are appropriately designed and make a positive visual contribution to the corridor. This is my favorite one. Policy 1.14 encourages the development and installation of unique gateway features and landmarks for our corridors in order to make them contribute to developing a sense of place. We want to continue to enhance Oroville's uniqueness. Billboards look the same everywhere you go. Our town is different, and I want it to continue to look different. That's what draws people here. And policy P2.6 encourages the planting of trees and landscape features to make our corridors interesting, appealing, and inviting. I believe we have enough. I do not believe we need any more. I think if you were to ask the residents of Oroville, I've just done my not official asking of them, I don't find anyone who says, oh, please, we want more billboards.
Yeah, I agree.
Does anyone else want to make comment on the project? You want to respond? You're sure welcome to. You bet.
Thank you. I can certainly appreciate your viewpoint, and I'm a big fan of finding projects that are consistent with the general plan. I would respectfully suggest that some of your information might not be 100% accurate in terms of the impact that billboards have on property values. The property that does have the billboard on it actually is higher. I can provide a study to the city if that's desired. I'd also wonder if any of the persons that were asked are business owners, because local businesses especially find this a very cost-effective form of advertising. And the reason that we're seeking to build this sign here is to continue to better serve the local businesses that have advertised with us for quite some time. And that's really why we're here. We want to support the Butte County economy. We want to support local Oroville area businesses. And that's why we're asking for this project. Thank you very much.
The sign, though, will be available to businesses outside of Oroville to advertise on it.
Correct, it would. We don't discriminate based upon geographic location. However, past historical patterns have indicated that the ones on surface streets are all very close to the business that is being advertised.
But I guess my point is, for me personally, it takes away from the businesses that are right there. It's because it's an off-premise, so it's advertising for something that's not on that road.
Or it could be advertising something that's just a little ways down the road.
Well, they would probably have their own sign. It's okay. I respect your opinion, too. Just
Thank you.
different.
Any other comments? I'll reclose the hearing on this item. And again, any discussion amongst the commissioners? And wait for a motion.
Well, I just want to make sure that we don't have any overhead.
Electrical overhead?
Electrical, yeah, if anything needs to be underground, drawn from the building or, yeah. And at the landscaping, because I went by it too, and the landscaping of the whole property is terrible.
Yes.
So I would suggest that landscaping be kept up nice.
Yeah, that would be the responsibility of
Homeowner.
the property owner
Yeah.
to,
Well, I mean, you're gonna lease, you're leasing that space? Or is it, are you getting an easement, you're buying it, you're just putting it on?
it's their agreement with the property owner. So their lease agreement is attached in here. It's whatever was determined between them.
It
So
doesn't really say a whole
the
lot.
as far as the landscaping, it's the responsibility of the property owner if it hasn't been kept up
Well-
and they have an LMA sign.
All right, well, where the sign is, it looks like it's a larger island right there. Can that island at least be maintained?
I'd be happy to talk to the property owner about it.
It did sound like, from Stott, it did sound like part of the planner was actually in the city right away. The majority of the planner is in the city right away.
So the city's supposed to be taking care of it.
It's not a city-maintained planner. It is on the property owner.
Okay, that's what I thought.
As long as someone maintains it.
Demand it, no one will probably maintain
As
it.
long as someone maintains the landscaping.
Other discussion? I'm still waiting for a motion.
So if we were to do a motion, would you help us on the number 8, whatever those two ones we want to change? I think that's the holdup, is how to say it.
Staff can help you with the language.
Okay.
Don behind you there, or
Which are the two that?
Okay,
Yeah.
so like 15, let's see, 18. Basically, it's just 19, the no new overhead service.
So you could make a motion to approve as agenda-sized with the change to condition
Number
19
19.
as discussed. if someone would like to make that motion.
What is the commission's desire relating to the pole cover? Deferring it or requiring it?
What was that?
The pole cover?
Number 15.
Yes, number 15.
I'd like to see it. I would like to see just a nicer looking billboard. I mean, I do agree that we have a lot in town, but if it's going to be approved, I'd like to see it with a nice pole cover on it. Something than just a metal pole and some landscaping to be maintained, at least in that curb. And no overhead utility.
Well, again, I think the landscaping though is on the business owner.
But they have the property where it's going up, so it could be required of them, because they're gonna get, this is like their business, right?
Stott does not own this property. They are
I mean,
not
the owner.
responsible for the
They're just
landscaping,
leasing.
so
The
they're
owner will
leasing.
be paid
They're
for it.
leasing, yeah.
The owner will be paid for it, so the owner, that could be part of it.
Well, that would involve discussions with the owner, so.
One could craft a condition that says if the owner does not keep up the landscaping, that to ask Stott to work with the landowner and mutually arrange to get the landscaping taken care of and maintained.
I mean, even if it's drought resistant landscaping or something that's just not dead weeds would be better.
We will also ask code compliance to visit that site at their next opportunity and approach the owner about their landscaping, the condition of their landscaping.
Tammy, you gonna take a crack at it?
Well, I was just wondering how everybody else is feeling, so I'm trying to judge them or not. They're gonna feel on it. Go for it, huh? Oh my God, why don't you guys do it? Okay, so I make a motion to adopt the categorical exemption existing facilities CCR Title 14, Section 15332 as the appropriate level of environmental review in accordance with the CEQA, and adopt the recommended findings for use permit UP 21-03 and adopt resolution number P 2021-04. This is the fun part. And approve the conditions of approval with change, how do I say it? Changes to the 15. I want 15 and I want 18 and 19 all addressed.
Did you want to change something with
No, 15.
number 15, or do you
No,
want to keep
actually,
15 in?
I want to keep 15 in.
So then
we're
you'll
leave
have
it
to
alone.
address that one.
Okay. 18. I'm going to leave 18 alone. I'm just going to change 19 to all utilities will have no new overhead service. Changes to number 19.
Have a motion to have a second?
I'll second.
Who?
I'll second.
Wyatt.
Have a motion and a second?
The motion fails with 2 yeses and 4 nos and 1 absent.
Okay. Next item. Is item 4, residential shop building at 2723 Oral Quincy Highway. Open the hearing on this item. Staff?
Yes, Commissioners, the proposal before you is for a 4,800 square foot accessory building on a large 2.3 acre lot where there's a previously burned down home. The lot is zoned RR20, which is half acre minimum. It's our second largest, it's our second most rural zoning. We have about 45 or so parcels zoned RR20, rural residential, 20,000 square feet or larger. The intent, stated intent of the new owners is to rebuild the home on the same site to salvage what they can. But they first want to build this shop building garage for their toys and equipment, personal equipment, and as a staging area for the home construction when they can get that approved and completed. The shop would be well over twice the size of the home, or about twice the size of the home. The city has no specific codes allowing such a large structure on an RR20 lot. And in that case, the structure is not allowed unless the zoning administrator determines there is a similar, more intense use available in that zone, and in this case, there are. One can build a meeting center of up to 10,000 square feet, a public school, or a mobile home park on an RR20 lot, with a use permit. Because the proposed building size and the existence of a more intense allowable use, the zoning administrator has determined that, like those other uses, approval would require a use permit, and that is the reason we're before the Planning Commission with this project. So there's several arguments for and against the project, and several issues which we've worked out with the applicant, and I'll go through them real quickly here. In our codes for accessory buildings, additional review is triggered if a garage exceeds 25% of the main structure or 700 square feet. So clearly this is above and beyond the typical size of a garage. This is about I think it's a 13-car garage equivalent. Secondly, if these applicants ever sell, the chance of the building being used for a commercial purpose and generating customer traffic in a residential zone is significant. Therefore, if this project is approved, we have added a condition for a recorded deed restriction or covenant to not allow any commercial activity for existing owners and future owners beyond that which would normally be allowed for a typical home occupation business. The parcel is in the Hillside Overlay District. It requires, quote, minimal disturbance of natural terrain. If the building is ultimately approved by this commission, there is a flatter location on the property for the structure behind the home. Better fulfills the Hillside Overlay requirement, and flattening the proposed site involves the moving of about 200 cubic yards of soil. That's not an unheard amount in hilly locations. We'd also like to note that this site would not be any more or less exposed to the street or to neighbors than the flatter location on top. So it's pretty much a neutral choice in that regard. This zone, RR20, is our most rural zoning designation, and though such a structure is not allowed within the city without a use permit, if this lot were in the county, the barn or shop would likely be allowed. The county's zoning regulations are quite a bit more liberal than ours. The applicant has provided a list of other large garages, several of which are in the county, but if you recall, the DRC had recently approved a 2,100 square foot garage at 49 Oak, a 1,400 square foot garage at 87 Pine Oaks, and a 1,200 square foot garage at 10 Canyon Highlands, all in our rural zoning. Not one this large, however. Several years ago, a large accessory building on Acacia Avenue generated a lot of controversy and a number of lawsuits. But the project was not permitted, the neighbors had not been notified, and it's in a much more congested area with lots more residences closer than this project. Notice has been mailed to all neighbors within 300 feet of the project. We have received one inquiry, and I don't know if anybody is here tonight about this project, but no letters of opposition or otherwise at this point. Another factor to prevent the proliferation of barns and garages on residential lots without anyone living there, our standard, like most other jurisdictions, is to not allow an accessory structure to be built until the main structure is built, or at least there's an approved building permit for the main structure. Our accessory building definitions infer and require the existence of a main structure. It's up to this body to decide whether the burnt-out home that is intended to be rebuilt is an existing structure or not, or to waive that requirement. The applicant does want to use this building as staging and a secure place for materials and equipment while they are rebuilding the home. So the use permit would therefore determine if this large building is to be approved, the location of the structure on the site, and if it can be built prior to an approved building permit for the main structure. So that's what we're asking the Planning Commission to determine. Craig and Rachel Faulkner are here to give you their perspective of their project.
Okay, applicant?
Yep. Is there somewhere to plug in here, or just click through? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, well, appreciate everyone's time and conditional approval. We do have one issue with one of the conditions, which I'll speak to a little bit more. We did present some of this material at the DRC last month. I know some folks weren't here, so for everyone else's benefit, I'll just kind of quickly go through some of the information. One correction, just the highlighted stuff is kind of what I wanted to focus on here, but the original house that was built in the 1970s was actually 3,629 square feet. So although the shop itself is 4,800, it's not double the size of the house. The house we intend to build is basically that square footage. The lot was originally 17.3 acres. It was an agricultural site, and it was divided into two parcels. Our parcel, the 2.38 acre parcel, actually still has an ag well on it. Just kind of what I want to get across here. This property, so this house was built in the 70s. It burnt at some point. Somebody started rebuilding in the early 2000s. That burnt in 2008. It's been basically just a very tumultuous property. You can see here what was done in the early 2000s. They added on to the existing structure, added square footage. Here's an article from the Mercury Register in 2008 when the second house burnt down. But basically the takeaway is this property's been vacant for decades. It's been, in our opinion, a huge liability for the city. We've talked to many of the neighbors who've expressed nothing but frustration and kind of what's happened with this property through the years. You can see a list there of some of the things that have gone on. And this is the kind of evidence behind that. We went down to the police department, public records, pulled reports. I think this goes back 9 years, but over that period of time, there's 23 incidents recorded where people actually responded in person. Neighbors have repeatedly told us they would call over and over, some of them daily, and police officers never came to the scene. So I think it's pretty sufficient to say there were probably a lot more people, a lot of other calls that went unresponded. You can see some of the stuff here. Missing persons were found there, arrests were made. Illegal dumping, abandoned vehicles, 2 in 2016 when we bought the property. At the end of last year, there's an abandoned vehicle, another one, which is actually still there, that we're working on getting removed. Homeless encampment, lots of very unsavory things that have been going on here. You can see some of the pictures here. This is what it looked like when we acquired the property in December. Drug dealer phone numbers, syringes, some of them still have drugs in them. Many of them have needles in the syringes. There's the abandoned vehicle that's actually still there. I've added another picture, but essentially this presentation doesn't have it. We had a 5-gallon bucket. It was full about this much at the bottom, full of hypodermic needles and syringes that I had to pick up with grabbers and took to the police department. Some of them still had drugs, just disgusting filth. So we bought this property. Our plan was there was an existing structure there. We kind of like that and some of the history behind it. That's why we spent some time going to the county, the city, trying to find out kind of the history on this property. And our plan was, when we initially purchased it, was to rebuild what was there. So we've been working with TFD out of Rockland on the floor plan. I've got some pictures, some updates from the review committee last month. And then Streamline Engineering in Chico, we actually talked to Jeff today, but he's going to be working on all the structural calcs, the heat transfer, R-value calcs, all that kind of stuff. We're going to meet with him the week of May 3rd. Again, this is just kind of going over the proposal. So we're going to rebuild this home, and then we, as Wes explained, plan to build this shop. Again, the shop will be used for storage of personal property as a workspace. We're pretty hands-on people. So we do intend to, keep some of our tools and stuff that we'll be using to help rebuild the property or the house on the property. And again, just because of the history of this property, we do want to be able to be there and have more of a presence there. I don't really trust this property continuing to be vacant and having construction workers and people coming in and out. We were actually up there one Saturday working, and we had the chain down that we just have up for now. And a truck with a trailer pulled up, and I think they'd heard people up there working, but I think they were looking to load, throw anything they could into the back of the truck and trailer and steal it. So again, we just want to have somewhere to keep tools, equipment, stuff out of eyesight. We recently moved to, I should add, we have 3 pretty large storage units that we intend to consolidate as well into the shop or rebuilding. Here's the floor plans. I mean, this is new since our meeting on March 18th, last month at the DRC. What you can see, I don't know if the pointer works on this, on the left-hand side, that longer vertical wall is actually what we're going to keep of the existing structure. As we got into it, it's pretty hard to work around, space limitations and geometries with what's existing. So we're going to keep one large structural wall and then add on to it. Basically, the house will be rebuilt in the existing location. We're going to build a 2-story home like was there. This is the bottom floor. This is the top floor of the house. Again, this floor plan is about 3,620 square feet. So again, very similar in size to what was previously there. This is the overlay of floor 1 and floor 2 that you can see there. The next slide here. This is just for conceptual. This is kind of the architectural style that we're drawn to. We intend to, as we start working with Streamline Engineering, design something in concept similar to this. The shop building itself, as you drive around town, you see different, barn shops, whatever. I just wanted to kind of highlight that this is, isn't some just shop that somebody puts together and it's, pieced together. This is a custom built shop from the largest steel producer in the U.S. When it comes to shop buildings, these are the highest quality buildings that you can buy. It's a publicly traded large company. It's a very nice building. You can see the wireframe drawing there of our shop. I mean, this is the size of the shop and the doors and the layout that we've spec'd out and ordered. This we actually placed on order back in January. Just with all the craziness of stuff that's going on, steel prices are skyrocketing, as are most things, and lead times are very long. So we don't get this until the week of June 18th. We had to get the building on order to lock in the prices and get the lead time clock ticking. We do intend to store a lot of, maybe I'll just focus on it. I think it was in the report, but we do have a boat and some other things that we intend to store in the shop after construction's done and after we move the stuff out of our storage unit. The boat, I have a rock crawler. Some of these things are being stored, in addition to our storage units, what's in there as well. Those would be intended to be consolidated. Personally, when I drive around too and I see people's cars, boats, whatever, sitting outside with tarps on them, I mean, I don't understand why this is a bad thing. This looks very nice to have everything cleanly consolidated, into a very nice looking shop building, in my opinion. These are the colors. This is not our exact shop building, but these are the colors that we've picked out and what's on order. So again, just to reinforce, this is a very nice, high quality building. It's not. Some of these big buildings are kind of like a glorified carport with steel square tubing. This is an I-beam building. It's very heavy duty, high quality building. Will be insulated as well. Here is a Photoshop. Wes had requested just kind of a visual representation from an address across the street, just as a vantage point. You can see in the red arrow, that's essentially what it will look like. That is the shop building there. We do intend to add a perimeter fence. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it will be just under 7 feet tall. I don't know if everyone had the opportunity to visit the property, but it is, as Wes mentioned, a larger lot within the city limits. It's surrounded by county and other larger lots and lots that have accessory buildings. As it was subdivided too, as I mentioned early on, from 17 acres, the 14 acres behind it are still vacant. And I guess one thing too to point out, that embankment is, in the middle it slopes down a little bit, but on the ends it's probably between 9 to 10 feet tall. But as you're driving down Quincy, I mean, it's very hard to look up past an embankment. And then if we had a 7-foot fence, 7-ish foot fence on top of that, there's really not going to be a lot visible from the roadway, especially with some of the natural vegetation that's there. Oh, I think Wes mentioned this as well. Some other homes that are kind of in the area. So our property is the one with the red mark. You can see here there's a house with a yellow star. It's a 5,726 square foot home. So I know it's been mentioned that the shop is twice the size or over twice the size of houses in the area. That's simply not true. I mean, you can see here.
I accept the correction.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This one has a shop as well. Here's another one. Again, red dot, yellow star. Another shop that's very close to us with rural residential zoning, about a 2,500 square foot shop. I measured these out in Google Earth to get the dimensions. Another one here. This is actually kind of in that Glen Drive subdivision by DWR. There's a pretty large shop. I think it's actually bigger than the house from what I was able to find online in the RL zoning. You can see the shop there with the red arrow. Here's just kind of a summary of some other ones. We spent some time obviously going through this, finding different properties that have shops, measuring them out, looking up the zoning for each. But the takeaway is there are a lot of examples of other properties, both in the city and in the county with shops. And you can see some here. Some of the larger ones, of course, are in the county, but there's many that are over 5,000 square feet, so it's not uncommon. Oh. Here's a couple other just houses too that were on the larger side that aren't too far from us. So again, just to kind of reiterate, we're pretty hands-on. I do a lot of metal fabrication just kind of as a hobby, one of the things that I'm into. So this is the gate. I actually designed it myself in SolidWorks, and I'm building it currently, in process of building it. But that's the gate I'm going to be installing coming into the property. Again, we have 4 little ones who are in the back of the room here. You know, we want a safe place for them to be able to go out and play, you know, as kids and grow up and not have to worry about some of the evil things that are in the world. So I want to put a nice gate in that we can easily, you know, access the property and keep some of these people out. And I mentioned the fence. Here you can see the fence that I also designed, so I will be building that as well. We actually purchased all of this steel. It's all sitting at a buddy shop off Lone Tree. He's actually in the county, but he's nice enough to let me drop everything there, and I'm building this stuff at his place currently. But we bought all of this steel from All Metals here in town. Quoted some other places, but wanted to support local. That's it as far as the presentation. So I mentioned we have a concern with one of the conditions, condition number 5. I think the way the verbiage was written says that we need to have a permit for the house before we can begin building. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. So the floor plan, again, we were able to get that done in less than a month's time. So we're moving quickly, investing heavily in this project. But as far as the next stage, taking the floor plan into designing, you know, the exterior, doing all the engineering calcs, getting that ready, it's going to be a minimum of 2 months to get that done. We talked to Jeff today about that, and I'm putting together kind of a Gantt chart project schedule. But that's what we're looking at. And so as I mentioned, the long lead time on the shop, we put the shop on order in early January, and it's scheduled to arrive the week of June 18th. So that is our concern, is that if we have to have the building permit done before we can start building, or the building permit for the house done before we can start building the shop, that the shop's going to arrive and we're just going to have it sitting in the dirt for a period of however many months that takes. And it's our understanding as well that that is a recommendation. It's not law from what we've been able to gather. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that condition and ask that the verbiage be changed. We have no issues with signing some sort of contract, you know, stipulations saying that we're going to build the house. It's just, as far as timelines and how things stack up, it's not going to work for us to take that approach. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Any questions on the applicant?
Yes. Wes, there was a condition that as long as he owns it and the seller, this shop cannot be turned into a commercial building, is that correct?
Yes, we are proposing a covenant or a deed restriction that restricts in perpetuity that this cannot be used for commercial purposes.
So basically, you're going to keep one wall. It'll be basically a remodel, correct?
For the house?
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
We looked at, I mean, you end up paying so much in new permit fees, and I mean, that was kind of part of the draw.
No, I get that.
Us, yeah, so that's
construction,
yep.
so
Yep.
I get that. But the condition 5, Wes, if we agreed to this proposal, that condition, does he have to start the house before the the shop?
The typical condition is that you have to have an approved building permit prior to constructing an accessory building. Once you get a building permit, you have a year in which to commence construction. This can be considered a unique situation with an existing structure there that's intended to be rebuilt. If applicant is willing to sign a certify that they will proceed to get the building permit, I don't think we have a serious objection to that.
And you're willing to do that?
Yeah.
And what kind of timeline, I know that the timeline on the shop, but when do you think you want to start construction on the house itself?
Yeah, so the floor plan is basically done. I think we might have a few minor tweaks that we're just kind of working some of the kinks out with. But as far as with streamline engineering, it's about a minimum of 2 months from when we meet with him the week of May 3rd to get to the final stage in that process. So
it'll be about the same timeline as when the shop is done, correct?
well, so at that point, I mean, we're gonna have to initiate the permit process with the city for the house at that point. So I don't know how long that's gonna take. You know, it's gonna add some additional time, but then we're gonna have to work with contractors to get bids as well.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you're saying it's going to take 2 months to get all your plans to be approved, correct? To submit it to the city?
Yeah, minimum of 2 months to get all that work done. That's kind of best case. Jeff said, you know, as long as, you know, we're not requesting changes kind of throughout the process and that kind of thing,
Right.
it'd be kind of a minimum of 2 months right now
Right.
to get to that
And
stage. So.
say it's 2 months in the, I don't know how long it takes to, 2 months to approve that.
About 2 months.
Yeah. So now you're 4 months into it. Once it's approved, when will you start construction? So now you're 4 months out,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So would you start construction at that point?
Yeah, I mean, our plan is we're living with family currently. As I mentioned, we'd sold our house. We moved back up this way. Once I got out of school, we ended up having to move closer down to the Bay Area for work. So I was down there for about 10 years. But both Rachel and my wife and I are from Oroville originally. We still have a lot of family here. And so we want to get into a house as quickly as possible.
Well, I'm very familiar with that piece of property because Andy Anderson was the one that built that house originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Yeah, a friend of mine actually worked for him building that house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
Neat to learn, more history on it.
yeah, Randy would know.
Okay.
But,
Is he still around by chance?
oh, yeah.
Or- Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as you would sign a contract saying you would start as soon as you get a permit, I don't have a problem with them building a shop. I get the shop thing. I understand that.
Okay.
It's a little big, but as long as you don't have to, as long as you can't turn it into a commercial building afterwards or anybody after you, I'm okay with it. I really am. I mean, that's a nice piece of property. I don't know what the view is up there, but
It's very pretty. Yeah, that's kind of why we were
yeah.
drawn to it. Yeah, it has a nice view of the valley and kind of 360, but
Yeah.
it seemed very kind of what you picture of Orville. That's why we really kind of fell in love with it. But thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the comments and feedback.
Oh. Flicker.
Yes, that's me.
Gotta get used to this.
You had mentioned that once you get all the way through that, then you're gonna put it out for bid for contractors?
Correct.
So you haven't even gone that far yet as to, I mean, who's
Well,
gonna
we have
build
some-
it and how much it's gonna cost and,
We have some people in mind, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of hard to.
yeah, so you're hoping to break ground by fall? Is what it
Correct.
sounds like.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need, of course, plans to get all those kind of details firmed up. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone from the public wants to make comment on the project?
Mr. Chairperson, I do not have any public speakers on this item. Zero
Zero.
public speakers on this item.
All right. Then I'll close the public hearing. And thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Open discussion amongst the commissioners and lead to a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a use permit for UP 2102 and recommended conditions for approval, and adopt resolution number P20221-03.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Is that changing number 5?
That change,
Is that including the change to condition number 5 that was discussed?
Can we make a condition that he does sign a contract for that? That he will within a year's time, right? Would that work for you?
It would, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that just for the motion, so he can start the garage before the permit with a contract that states that he'll start construction within a year.
Within a year.
On the primary residence.
On the primary residence, yeah. We good?
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Motion carries with 6 yeses and 1 absent.
If you give me your contact information, I'll call Randy. And, yeah.
Going all over, we got a lot of pictures from the April, we got our environmental health, sorry. I know.
Yeah.
But environmental health and going all over trying to get as much information as we can on the property because ultimately, we moved back to Orville because that was always our goal. We love this town and want to live here, want to make it look better, want to, and we like the history of it. We love the history of town.
If you give me your information, Randy's one of my best friends, so,
Awesome,
That would be
Yeah.
great.
yeah.
We'd love to talk to him about it, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Are we finished? Okay, we'll move on to item 5, minor use permit 2104 for alcohol sales at proposed Orville Liquor and Market at 1275 Feather River Boulevard. Open the hearing. Staff?
Commissioners. This item is for alcohol sales at the proposed Orville Liquor and Market at 1275 Feather River Boulevard. This is at the intersection of Feather River and Montgomery Street, across the street from the Gateway Project, that area off of 70. The applicant, Mitch Dorgali, has applied for a use permit to conduct alcohol sales at the proposed new liquor store and market. A market or convenience store under 10,000 square feet would be considered food and beverage sales or general retail, which is a use permitted by right in a C2 zone. All alcohol sales within the city require a use permit. The Development Review Committee reviewed this item at its April 8th meeting and discussed several areas of concern. The first one were surrounding alcohol sales. Within the immediate vicinity, there are 4 retailers that have alcohol beverage licenses. And within the city as a whole, there are 6 retailers that are considered liquor stores. The exterior design features. The proposed liquor store is within the boundaries of the downtown historic overlay. And this project is limited in its ability to meet those goals of the downtown historic overlay because it is an existing building. So the work is limited to refurbishing anything on the outside, new landscaping, and stuff like that. Parking, city code requires 18 parking spaces with 1 accessibility space. Currently, 9 spaces are provided. However, since the April 8th DRC, the applicant has worked with a contractor to get those required parking spaces that is attached in your packet for your review. The proposal is to add 3 additional spaces in the rear fenced area for employees. They have reached an agreement with the neighboring Pioneer Auto Body to use 2 of their spaces if needed, and 4 spaces provided for on-street parking, which is allowed within the downtown historic overlay along Feather River Boulevard. Landscaping, currently the property is not landscaped, or most of it is dead at this point. The property has been vacant for some time. Since the DRC, the applicant has been working with our city's Parks and Tree Department and with a landscaping company to meet all the requirements, the 50% shade and new landscaping around the property. So they have submitted a plan to our Parks and Trees Department for their review. Lighting, so the applicant is required to submit to the city as part of the use permit application details of the exterior lighting. At the DRC meeting, it was discussed, and they have since supplied a site plan with those design features for the lights. That is also attached in your packet. It would include some gooseneck lights along the front, along Feather River and Montgomery, and then more, brighter lights along the side rear area for the safety in the rear. And then a trash enclosure. City code requires all businesses to have a trash enclosure designed to city standards. At the time of DRC, there was no indication that a trash enclosure was provided. Since then, the applicant has worked with the contractor and with city staff to design a trash enclosure to fit their dumpsters and recycling bins. And that will be located in the rear fenced area of the property. Staff would also like to note that the Planning Commission has the authority to attach any conditions to the use permit that are deemed necessary to promote the general health, safety, and public welfare of the city. This also includes the regulations of the nature, hours of operation, and extent of the use. It is the Planning Commission, they have the discretion to impose conditions limiting floor space available for alcohol sales if it is in the interest of the public.
That it? Any questions of staff at this time? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Applicant?
Okay, my name is Mutrab Durgalli, known by Mitch. Thank you for all the effort and for the help with all the license and the application and the permit with the city. Okay, on 9/9/2020, my store in Berry Creek burned down in the big fire. The big fire burned down 92% of the structure in Berry Creek, and my store with the home was one of them, and that was my retirement plan, but it burned down. So after that, and I'd like to tell you, I've been in Butte County for 33 years between Oroville, Chico, and Paradise as worker and store owner. After my store burned down, me and my nephew and partner, George, we found this location in Oroville, 1275 Feather River and Montgomery Street. So we bought it and we decided to establish a new business, and we start fix it for our best and clean it. Our plan, it has like 4 units to have a nice grocery market liquor store in the front, and there is 2 or 3 rental units in the back. We will try to fix it for our best and for the rules of the city, and rent it. And if we can't rent it, maybe we think about open another business. And if there is any question, that's the basic plan. If there's any question, I will be glad to answer with the help of my daughter, Karen Durgali, the one who worked in newspaper of Chico, and my friend Dan. He worked the heating unit for me.
Any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, what do you mean rental?
Okay, the building is big. It's about 14,000 square footage. And it's really complicated a little bit. We tried to have help from Mr. Wiz so many times because there is some different in the addresses. So the building is like that, 1275A, which is the storage in the back of the building. 1275B, that gonna be the main store, the main market. And it's on the corner of Feather River and Montgomery. Then the other 3 unit, it's on Montgomery. There is 700 A and B and 720. 720 we fix it and almost ready to rent. So 700, there is 2 unit. We will fix it and rent it for any businesses in town.
Okay. And the hours that you have?
7 to 11 or 12.
Yeah, and then 2 a.m. So
2 a.m. on the weekend.
that's a tough corner there. I don't know. It's so I guess I'm. Why do you need to be open till 2 a.m.?
You know, you're right.
It's a tough corner, and
It is tough corner, and you're right. There's some store in the same area, they open 24 hour. And in the same time, we heard from the city that there's a big project in that area.
the 12 acre.
Kind of open for more businesses, restaurant and hotel and home and stuff like that. So but that's just in the beginning. Maybe after we open, maybe we see like the business is good until 10 o'clock, then we decide to open until 10. So it's not like 100% decision. It could be changed. And it is really, maybe we are not going to do it until 12 or 11 o'clock.
Okay. And what's so the liquor? What is the square feet of?
The square
liquor
footage of the
section?
building, about almost 4,900.
That's the end of my question for now.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay,
I would like to say something if that's okay. God?
Yeah.
yeah, use the
Oh, I'm
microphone.
sorry. Excuse me, Doc. Hello, as he said, I'm his daughter. My name is Karen, but I go by Care. I do think it's worth mentioning that for several years, my dad ran Jerry's Market in Orville extremely responsibly. After his business burned down in the Bear Fire, I had people reaching out to me, and when I say that, I mean dozens and dozens of people on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter, because I worked for the Oroville Mercury Register at the time, and a lot of my pictures from the fire went viral, and so people reached out to me specifically to say, hey, I know your dad. I've known him since I was a little kid. Some of my fondest memories are going to Jerry's Market during lunchtime to grab a snack, or in the middle of the night, if I was out hiking with friends up in Berry Creek, I would know where I was because I could see the Auburn light in the store. So my dad in this community, in ways that you wouldn't even think, has seriously touched the lives of people just through owning a business and hiring friendly people and providing for their needs, and especially up in Berry Creek, giving people a spot to gather and be in community with each other. And that's extremely special. And he used these businesses to support his family. That's the reason he moved to America. I don't know if you can hear his accent. It's faded over the years, but I'm a grad student right now at USC. It's extremely expensive, and as my dad said, he was retired until the store burned down, and so being the immigrant, extremely hard worker that he is, he had to jump out of retirement to find a way to continue to support his family. And so I hope that in making these decisions, I'm somewhat outside of this. I'm a full-time student helping my dad as often as I can, but he works really, really, really hard and is responsible in everything that he does, and everything that he does is for his family and, to by extension, the community which he serves through providing businesses and operating them. So I just wanted to say that real quick. I hope that you would consider his character while voting on these things. This is all very new information to me. I was a photojournalist at the Enterprise Record. I didn't often have to write things. I didn't often have to read these agendas, but from what I can tell, boy, are there seriously hefty requirements, but my dad is completely willing to work with all of you to make this happen. I just wanted to say that real quick.
Any questions of the young lady? Do we have anybody that wants to make comments in support of the project? Is there anyone here that wants to make comments in opposition to the project?
Mr. Chairperson, I do have multiple speaker cards on this item.
Yeah, what?
I have multiple speaker cards and people on Zoom that would like to speak on this item.
Okay. Also, we need to mention that we have received this letter too.
Okay.
In opposition.
Our first speaker is, I apologize because I'm trying my best to read the names here. Gurinder Singh.
Hi, my name is Gurinder Singh. I'm from last week. I mailed a letter to each member of the commissions, and I mentioned most of the problem we're going to have is if there's a hard alcohol sale open. Because that area already have lots of problem. I'm running that store from last 15 years. Last 4 years, we have lots of problem there from homeless, drunk people. And I have to work with the ABC department from last 4 years to keep clean that place. And we are successful 95% of it. And I'm still having problem with those people, drunk people and homeless people. If somebody starts selling hard liquor there will be a lot of drunk people at the park, at the river, around that area, and there will be more police calls, there are more ambulance calls, and there are more problems with the all properties too. And there's no benefit to open that liquor store over there, none. We already have 6 liquor stores in mile and a half area, and we have like more than 10 location beer and wine. And there's one more opening Maverick in a couple months. So it should not be allowed there if city want to keep that area clean and keep people safe. That's all I want to say. And also, Mr. Commissioner Michael Brighton, he personally go to my store many years. He personally knew what kind of problem I was facing. So it should not be allowed at all because we already have enough liquor store here in mile and a half area and enough beer and wine stores. And that's the main entrance to city of Oroville. There's the vacationers come here through that to go to dam, they come to downtown, and that will be made bad impression on all those people. And there's no benefit of this liquor store to city and all community, not even one benefit. So that's all I want to say. So please consider that before you make any decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any questions?
Any questions? No? We have no questions, apparently. No questions.
Our next speaker is Star Gentles.
Feather River Boulevard. I am the owner and director of a Bright Star Preschool. I am the only one on the corner that's not selling liquor at this point. So I have no problem with this positive growth, with this whole new reconstruction. I know that you guys are taking your time, you're working on this, and I know that it's going to be the gateway to Orville, which is going to be an amazing thing. But I feel like, are we opening it up to more negative foot patterns through that area? I'm kind of worried about that because right now we're already having lots of issues with the negative foot traffic. The homeless is a great population down there. And since I've moved in, I know 5 days a week, except for when the showers are there, I can look around my building 360 degrees, and I don't see any homeless. This is the first time in a long time the police said that they are not having calls on a regular basis to that facility. Less 911 calls, less ambulances. If we're going to allow more alcohol permits in this area, then we're going to have more foot traffic. We're going to have more problems. And this is not just that, it's the vandalism. I have people that are sleeping in my lit under areas in my doorways. I have police patrolling, coming through and patrolling just because it's a school. They want to make sure my teachers are safe, my janitors are safe. This is an ongoing problem. Yes, I want to promote positive growth. Let's make positive growth. My only problem is this alcohol permit. I appreciate you letting me speak tonight. I just want to be safe for these children. I want to know that when these parents are leaving the facility, they're not dealing with more alcoholics, people drinking and driving. I don't want to have to deal with people parking in my parking lot because they can't get into that store. I don't want to deal with the homeless. I mean, that's not asking too much. I mean, I want to be part of the positive growth in this area, and I think that I'm contributing that with my facility. So I would like that to continue. Maybe if we just don't give the alcohol permits, that would be nice. So we have plenty of them in our area already. I mean, I got Circle K, I got Valero, now the market across the street, they're going through this permit process. I've got several restaurants, the tobacco shop, and I'm battling these people every day. So thank you very much for your time.
Any questions of her? Okay.
Our next speaker is Dan Thresher.
And I've forgotten to mention that we do have a 3-minute limit on. Yeah.
Commissioners, my name is Dan Thresher. I'm a partner in an air conditioning company here in Orville. We are, as of today, just finished the air conditioning on this project. I've known Mitch Durhally for probably since about 1995. I moved here from Oregon, and I was a service manager for a 238-man shop. The one thing that I'd like to say about Mitch Durhally is that I have worked on thousands of buildings, and I have dealt with many building owners. I would have to say that many building owners are very irresponsible in taking care of their buildings. They let their roofs go, they let their air conditioning go, they let their plumbing go. Building owners tend to want to squeeze the money out of their project, and I understand that. That's why you own a building and you lease the building. But at the same time, you have to maintain those buildings. Mitch has done that. I go by Jerry's every day on the way home. Mitch has always tried to take care of his roof, keep his paint up. He keeps the place in great shape. A lot of times doing my job, I'm out and about, and I stop in there maybe to grab a bottle of water even, or a soda. Sometimes at lunchtime. And Mitch has the kids from the high school. He has a way of dealing with them, only letting a certain amount in the store. But it seems to me, going through there since 1995, alcohol sales are not typically his main focus. If I need some antacid and I don't want to go across town to get it, I can run down there and get it. If I want a can of something, if I am cooking something and I want a can of corn and I don't want to go across town, I can go get it there. So the market sales are really helpful, I think. As far as bums and that sort of thing, people hanging around, I have driven by that building before Mitch just bought it. And it's been a stoop for drug addicts, prostitutes, you name it, sitting on the stoop across from Mr. Singh's store. I would think that Mr. Singh would welcome some business, even if it's competition, just to help brighten up the area and get rid of what's going on across the store from him. That might actually help him by having that. I don't think he sees that, but that's my opinion, that would actually help him. I really don't think that it's going to impact Bright Star across the street much. There will be traffic. I think that'll happen, but any business is going to have traffic. As far as people coming and going and alcoholics falling down in the parking lot, so anyway, that's my opinion on Mr. Durhally. So thank you.
Can I
speak for a minute? Can I
Yeah.
speak for a minute?
Yes.
I forgot the name of my friend, what he says. he does not know what kind of problem we're facing there, because I know what kind of problem we're facing there from last few years. And I'm succeeding 95% to keep those drunk people away from there. I've worked with the ABC department, then we have a special device on my building. It's still there. It's called mosquito. It's called loitering device. I ordered from England just for that, so to keep those people away. What it does, it's installed on the building. I got a switch inside. If somebody hang around outside, I turn that on. Within 30 seconds, people go away from there because it's irritated their ears. The ABC department recommended me to put that over there, so he does not know what kind of problem we was facing. It's 95% clean now. If there's a hard liquor, people drink 1 12-ounce beer and 12-ounce liquor is big difference. They will get more drunk and more problem and more call to the police, and police will not focus on real emergency calls. Instead of there's so many calls for little thing, drunk peoples. That's all I want to say. Please keep in mind. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sik Sanguria. Sorry, I apologize.
To us. I'm one of the new owners at Times Square Plaza at 1345 Feather River Boulevard. We've been, nothing against you or your business, I understand. I'm sure you're a good worker, provide for your family. This has to do with the homeless problem. We've been there for a month and a half. We come up every week. And it's more for our tenants. There is always homeless sleeping in the parking lot, in front of the businesses. We have to shoo them away. And I don't want to do that. I've come up, we're installing cameras, adding lights, just so there's no dark spots on our property, so people aren't camping out overnight. I'm not from the area. I think it's a beautiful community. Been here for like 2 months, 4 months, researching the area. I'm a realtor. I do business. I have clients that have retail spots down the valley, San Joaquin, Modesto, Fresno. Everywhere there is liquor, it brings issues. So it's not really for, nothing against his business or the gentleman. It's just for our tenants and that area. It will bring more homeless. It will just bring more issues. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Dorgali. Oh, okay. Our next speaker then is Julie Miller.
Thank you, Commission, for allowing me to speak tonight. I live in the historic downtown district. I drive by this corner almost every single day. It is a mecca for homeless people and crime, and I've seen people literally shooting up drugs on the sidewalk in front of that building. I cannot see how this building is going to add to our beautiful downtown historic gateway. It's not going to enhance it or edify it any way whatsoever. So as a person who is working very hard to preserve our beautiful downtown and our historic district, I'm opposed to this project. I appreciate what the owner's trying to do. I appreciate his endeavors and his enthusiasm for running a business, but I just wish that he had chosen a different corner, because that corner really, really, really needs something that's going to edify our downtown, not take away from it. So that's all I'd like to say. I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Our last public speaker is Kay Castro.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners and City staff. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. I talked with 13 people today, 14, about the agenda item for this liquor store. 13 of them said, what liquor store? The 14th actually did previously speak to you this evening. I don't think that it's an issue of no one cares. I really think that possibly people might not be aware. I really have empathy for your loss, the applicant's loss in the Bear Creek fire. I appreciate your previous involvement in our community. My opinion has no reflection on your character nor your dedication and commitment to maintain the building. I just think it's the wrong corner. I believe Bedrock Park is an issue. It's currently oppressed with vandalism, vagrancy, drug use, and trash. As Star said, there is the daycare across the street. And there's a previous survey, and I cannot find it, so I will do some research on it. There was a survey done about businesses and what should go into this historic downtown area. A pizza by the Slice Place, an ice cream store. The biggest one of all was a natural food store. I don't want to name any chain store names, but similar to some of them that are in Chico. Not a single person in that survey said another liquor store. I do not think that it's an appropriate way for people to enter our historic gateway, and for that reason, I'm opposed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, that was the very last speaker on this item.
Okay. Yes, you want to add? Bond?
I just want to mention two things. I know how to deal with the homeless people, even it's not my responsibility. And if there is lots of homeless in this area, in my store in Jerry's Market, I never have any homeless, and that's with my effort. And since I moved here, the homeless going down and down. John and Ricky, the owner of Pioneer Shop, told me, Mitch, what you doing? I told them I know how to deal with them and let them go. So I'm good with that. And if there is a lot here in my store, I never have problem with any homeless at all. The other thing, it's gonna be food store more than liquor store because the store is big. It's not the size for liquor store. It's size for food and liquor, not convenience and gas. So if you wanna count from that corner all the way to Orodam, there is no food store. And all Montgomery Street, there is no food store at all. Just to know. Go ahead.
The license you're going for is not just for beer and wine?
It's full, 21.
So what is that? I'm unclear. Is that the hard liquor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
We apply for the liquor license after we finish all the paperwork with Mr. Wiz and Connor on the 13th of this month, so like 10 days ago.
Following the DRC, the applicant went up to ABC and submitted their proper paperwork. We're just waiting on ABC to send that final notice to the city. And should ABC determine at that time that there is an overconcentration of licenses within the census tract, then it would have to come back before the Planning Commission to approve or deny a letter of public convenience or necessity. So that would be at a later meeting.
I have a question of the applicant. Would you be able to make the business work if you did not get the liquor license?
If we didn't have the liquor license?
If you only had beer and wine, would you be able to make the business work?
Okay, good question. I really like it. And as he said, there is gas station with
Mitch,
and cross street there is gas
could you
station.
please approach the mic?
Sorry. So my goal is really to have the nicest food and liquor store. It's not convenience store with gas like I have cross street from me. It can be nice, big food store and liquor. And all the equipment can be nice and brand new and efficient. And we just tried the AC unit today. So it can be more than 60% food store because we're gonna have section of produce and fruit and frozen. And we already start having deal for the equipment. If we couldn't have it, maybe we try to make it beer and wine store, but there's a lot. And by the way, one more thing I want to mention. The closest liquor store close to this store is 1.2. There's no spirit store in the whole area. And everyone uses spirit also. Even the people who said it caused a problem, they use spirit.
I'm just judging what you could
Yeah,
get approved,
it's
and
a
right
good
now
question.
it's looking like
It's good.
if you
And
get
maybe-
anything approved, that may be.
I hope we will be approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Can I speak for a second, sir?
Did you want to speak again?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. You said there's no liquor store around 2 mile area or something. There's Colin and Denny, 0.6 mile from that location have liquor. Arco AMPM, 0.4 mile from that location got liquor. There's Auto Dam Liquor, 1.3 mile from that location, it's got liquor. There's Food Max, 1.6 mile from that location, got liquor. There's Tony's Liquor, 1.9 mile from there. So there are 2 locations, 0.6 mile from that location already have the liquor. So there's no make sense to open other liquor in between the half and mile area. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and open it to the commission for discussion and lead to a motion.
What, do you know what constitutes an what do you call it,
Overconcentration.
Overconcentration?
Yeah. So ABC determines overconcentrations by census tract. So this is in census tract 28, which is the main retail area of the city. Overconcentration is the percentage of licenses per 1,000 people, I believe. So ABC doesn't have that information readily available. They have to send you the letter in the mail to say there's an overconcentration.
So is it safe to say that this says that this store, proposed store, and the liquor stores that were just mentioned that are in here are all within the same census tract?
Not all of them are within the same census tract. ABC determines overconcentrations by Type 20 and Type 21 licenses. So Type 20 is beer and wine only. Type 21 is off-sale general, which includes hard liquor. So we have had previously within census tract 28, I believe, 2 or 3 letters of public convenience or necessity that went before the Planning Commission for approval. So staff does know that there is an overconcentration within this census tract.
Within this one?
Within this one, yes.
So the ABC might just say there's an overconcentration.
ABC will most likely say that there's an overconcentration. We're just waiting for that formal notification.
And then what happens at that point?
Once we receive that formal notification, we will then go before the Planning Commission at a later date, following that receival of the letter, to approve that public convenience or necessity letter, which will then the applicant mails to ABC to say the city recognizes that there's an overconcentration. However, there's a public need or convenience to have alcohol sales at this location.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Any comments? I've got one eventually.
Anything from you, Mike, on architectural elements or anything of the buildings historically? No, nothing. I know you know that area better than anybody. So
It used to be a Buick auto.
Parts store.
No, it used to be a car sales. Buick.
What?
Yeah, you're
Buick,
right.
yeah. Yeah, Buick, and then Beacons took it over after that. I think it caught fire. They rebuilt it. Beacons took it over. It used to be a Beacons moving company, and that's a good question, Mitch. Is it from the corner all the way to the dry cleaners?
To the cleaner, exactly.
That you kept that whole building?
Yeah, the whole
Okay,
building.
okay,
And we bought it under Father River Boulevard.
okay.
From Father River all the way to the cleaner. Pioneer bought it right now.
Well, I mean, there used to be a lot of things going on down there when I was a kid.
We bought it like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
The building was like for like the last 5 years, just empty and no maintenance.
Yeah.
So you own the dry cleaner store?
Nope.
That's what I thought Pioneer does. Okay, so
Pioneer's
up
got
till
that. Up to the There's a 5-foot easement between the dry cleaners and that building.
Is it really 5 foot? It looks
It's
like
5
this
feet.
big. It looks like
I used to jump from one building to the next on the roof. But it used to be there was the dry cleaners, then the oil company, and then going towards the Highway 70, it used to be New Method Laundry. And then there was a second-hand store there, and I can't remember the name of the guy. He was a crusty old dude. But yeah, I mean that's a lot of traffic down there.
Any other comments from anyone before I jump in?
So one of the things that we were looking at, staff proposes to add an additional condition of approval should the Planning Commission want to do that. It would be in accordance with Orville Municipal Code 17.12.100. It requires all retailers who are proposing to sell alcoholic beverages, including other uses such as gun stores and things like that, to submit a security plan for the chief of police to review and approve prior to opening. So that would be a proposed added condition, is just to have the applicant work with staff to submit a security plan for chief of police to approve.
Okay.
And that's only if we approve the liquor license, correct?
Yes.
Now, I understand this is a minor use permit for alcohol sales. Is that the total alcohol sales? That's beer and wine and hard liquor, or is this application before us just for the hard liquor?
This is for the Type 21 license altogether, so beer, wine, and hard liquor. Yes.
So if it were denied, then they would could come back for, was it type?
They can come back for a Type 20.
20?
They can also open without alcohol sales. That is a use permitted by right, subject to a zoning
Right.
clearance. So
I'm just talking about the alcohol.
yeah. So if Type 21 is denied, the applicant wants to revise their application and submit for a Type 20 or a different version of an ABC license,
I just go on record. I have a problem with the hard liquor being that close to what's the Bedrock Park. That place is inundated with kids swimming. There used to be, I don't know if it's still there, a place where they take their bikes and do their jumps, and is that still?
Yeah. Skate park.
I mean, the place just, and I just have a problem having a beer and wine, okay, but hard liquor that close to that park, which is a park that focuses mainly on a lot of kids. I mean, I've been there, there's 200 kids. And I just have a problem with that. And so my vote, I think, is going to be, I guess, denial, because what's before us is the whole thing. But I don't want it implied that a vote of denial means they can't later have beer and wine. So I don't know how to separate, in the motion, do we say deny the applicant for hard liquor, but okay for
That's
beer
all
and
that's
wine?
before us right now.
Huh?
It's just thought, isn't it? That's all that's before us right now, is the alcohol.
The hard liquor.
No, he just said it was the whole thing.
it's the Type 21
whole thing.
license,
Right.
but it includes all
Type
of
21.
But that's the only thing we can really look at
We
then.
don't have the right to do that. He'd have to apply for a beer and wine. What he's done is he applied for a Type 21 license, which covers from wine to tequila.
Yeah, it covers beer, wine,
Yeah, but
hard liquor.
Wait a minute. If it's denied, then he has to go back and apply for a license for beer and wine only. It's not up to us to separate the two.
That's right.
What I'm saying is, I don't want it implied that by denying this, we are including beer and wine in the denial, because we put ourselves in a bad position when they come back for approval for beer and wine. Somebody's going to say, well, you denied it back then, which included beer and wine. Why are you now approving it? I don't want to get in that trap. And I'm not sure how to avoid the trap. Hang on. So any staff can help, or commissioners can help me, or?
I believe what you could do the type 21, you could condition as a condition of approval to only be beer and wine. They would be in possession of a type 21, which allows beer and wine sales, including hard liquor. But the specific condition for this one would be beer and wine only. So even though they have the type 21, which permits them by ABC to sell hard liquor, the city has only allowed them to sell beer and wine
And
under
you
that.
would handle that in the motion?
That you could add that as a condition that the applicant may
Or
only
condition,
sell.
whatever.
No, wait a minute. If you own a liquor license and it's a type 21, you can sell that liquor license, but this condition doesn't go with that license.
No, this is for this location.
That property only.
Yes.
Correct?
It's not a condition of that license. That license is through ABC. This is for this use permit within this one building, this address.
Yeah, for that address.
Yeah.
That address.
Correct.
So I believe there's 3 addresses that go with that building.
There's multiple.
You see where I'm going? I mean, you can use it at a different address, but it's the same building. But it's a different address. Now, you own the license, you can go down here and say, well, I'm going to open a liquor store at this address, right?
The same address, but like A or B.
I believe there's 3 total different addresses there.
Condition could cover the whole parcel.
It would.
You could request it to cover the whole parcel.
Okay.
Well, you haven't helped me out of my problem.
That's because it's your problem.
We need a natural food store, a wonderful local natural foods. We don't have one. We're desperate for it. We don't need more alcohol on that corner. I'm so sorry to say. We don't need any there.
That kind of if they gave him a 21 license, but we say you can only use for beer and wine, would they even then award that kind of a license?
It would cost more.
I'm not sure. It's new. I don't think we've ever done anything like that. So
I mean, because again, it could be a moot point because ABC could come back and say it's an oversaturation and you can't have it. Was that
theoretically? Yes.
Right. So was the applicant aware that
that's never happened?
Well, that there could be an oversaturation in that area at the time of the.
We had our DRC that was discussed because we have had it as of last year. It kind of almost is a given that we're going to get that letter.
Okay.
Yeah, that was included within the DRC staff report and noted at that meeting.
Unfortunately,
so he was aware of it.
Absent from the meeting. Okay.
So the options for the planning commission include approve it with the sale of beer, wine, and spirits, the whole thing. You could condition it to approve at the address in the application, which is 1275, for beer and wine only, at which time the applicant would have to go back to ABC and request a beer and wine license. If either one comes back from ABC with an overconcentration, then this body would have to determine whether or not they would issue the letter of public convenience or necessity. Without that letter, ABC would not issue whatever license is before them.
You still haven't helped me with my motion.
Maybe I can help you. Someone else will make a motion.
So that's okay. We're way beyond. So I guess I'm waiting for a motion. Hopefully somebody's got my problem resolved. Some type of condition, modified condition, something. I just don't want us in a trap. I don't want him coming back here and somebody saying, you denied him, you can't approve beer and wine because you denied it.
No, if we deny it, we deny a type 21. We don't deny a type 20.
It's all that's before us, it's the 21. It's the only thing we can
I'm
address.
saying if he
this
comes
meeting.
back with a type 20 for beer and wine,
It's totally different.
it,
It is.
the application is different, but not the subject matter. The subject matter is the same. Subject matter is beer and wine, and if we deny this outright, we've denied beer, wine, and spirits, period.
You can approve it with a condition limiting alcohol sales to beer and wine
And
only.
where do we put that condition at?
In the conditions of the project.
Why?
Yeah, we just do not need more alcohol, even beer or wine, on that
Well,
corner. It's
that's
not appropriate for the gateway entrance to our beautiful downtown. It's not the best use of the space. We can do better.
That's right.
You can do a natural health food store and bring in wonderful local products, and it would just be incredible. So I'm sorry, I cannot support more alcohol on that corner. It's really a nightmare there.
That's okay. We'll get a vote and find out if we agree with you or disagree with you. But can you come up with some language?
So because it is a minor use permit, this is where the planning commission can put those conditions upon that use permit. So if Commissioner Chairperson Durling would like to have this permit approved as it is with the condition that it only be for beer and wine sales, that is the way it can be recommended to this body for approval.
Okay.
Okay, but didn't you just say that the alcohol liquor board is probably going to come back and say, we even have too many of those?
Well, that's a whole separate issue.
Okay.
Okay.
That is correct, and that would come back later
That's
for
a separate-
request.
That's
Okay.
really nothing to do with today.
Okay.
Okay?
So, I mean,
It has
you're,
to do with the density in the census tract, which basically covers all of Orville.
Right. So today, the Planning Commission is focusing upon the conditions within that minor use permit for the Type 21 ABC license. This is the opportunity to put those conditions within that permit.
Okay, I guess we're ready for somebody to give a motion and add that condition.
All right.
Happy.
I'll throw it out here. I would like to motion to approve item number 5 as the staff report has it, added that beer and wine sales only.
Got a second? Got a motion? Got a second? You want to wait about one more minute?
Second?
Did you give a second?
I didn't give a second.
No, I'm waiting for a second. If we don't have one, well, the motion dies for lack of a second. Ready? The motion dies for lack of a second. Now. Do we have enough?
Maybe the applicant has a solution. Do you want to hear it? Or maybe the applicant has a solution. He was raising his hand. Would you like to hear him again?
If the commission wants to have him come up, yeah, that's fine.
Do you have a solution to?
Maybe there's some misunderstanding. What I'm doing, I'm moving my 21 license from Bear Creek to here. So I already have the license under my name. But because there's no more people over there, I'm moving it to here. I already have the license, the ABC license 21, under my name, and I'm moving it from Bear Creek to this address. So I don't have any beer and wine license, and there is no beer and wine license for sale, even with the ABC.
I don't know, staff?
Okay.
no.
He says he already has a license, he doesn't need to apply for type 20 or 21.
So he's just transferring his license then, so that's still an application with ABC to transfer the license
Yeah.
from the old address. So, you know, it's still the same process with the overconcentration and
That's
everything.
my understanding. It's the fact that he has it already is immaterial. It's the fact that he wants to transfer it that's important, and that's what's before us. And
Yeah,
what-
transfer from premises to premises.
And what the motion is saying is, yeah, you can transfer it, but only for beer and wine. Basically, that's what the motion is saying.
If he wasn't applying for a new license, would we be voting on anything today?
You would still be voting because it's an alcohol beverage sale. So just because he has a license, he's looking to open up a new business within the city. So that requires a use permit. The license through ABC is a whole separate portion done by the state and their regulations of alcoholic beverages. And the city will require a use permit regardless.
So the motion, as of right now, still dies for lack of a second. Anybody want to come up with another motion? Approval or denial or conditions?
I just have a question. So is there a reason why we didn't wait to find out from alcohol beverage control if this is oversaturation or not?
So ABC is backed up at this point as far as we know. So it would be about 2 months out potentially. The applicant already applied for the use permit. So once the applicant applies for the use permit, then we have to begin that process of review. We don't necessarily have to wait for ABC to send that notification of overconcentration. So say there was never an overconcentration within this district, and we knew there wasn't one. The applicant would have gone through the same process we would have been before you here today, doing the same thing.
Okay.
No, I think...
The public hearing has closed.
We're having a discussion on the motion, so... if a grocery store went in there, wouldn't the grocery store have beer and wine?
They'd have to have a 20 liquor license.
Huh?
They'd have to have the license.
They'd have to have the type 20. Right.
Yeah, not every grocery store has
Right,
sells liquor.
right.
Yeah.
Natural food stores.
Yeah.
Don't.
Unnatural beer and wine.
Organic, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we need a motion of some kind.
Well,
I thought
okay.
there was a motion and I thought there was a motion and it didn't get a
No, that
a
didn't,
second.
we didn't get a second.
The motion died.
We didn't get a second, so we can either approve it or deny it, one of the two. I make a motion to accept or adopt the recommended finding for the use permit UP 21-04. Approve the permit approve the, did I do that right? Is that all I need to do?
If you're just trying to approve it as agenda-sized, you can say that.
Pardon me?
If you're just trying to approve it as agenda-sized, you can do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so a first for approving the item as agenda-sized,
What is agenda size?
meaning as written
Where it
in the
is.
agenda.
So I need a second. Never mind.
Countdown for a second. 4, 3, 2, 1. Motion dies for lack of a second. Anyone want to try for a third time?
We can put it up for approval and deny it,
Okay.
okay?
So there's not another way to do it.
No.
Okay.
That's the only way, but we have to have a motion and a second.
But you can have a motion to deny.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes. You have a choice. Motion to approve and then vote to deny it,
Okay.
or motion to deny and a vote to approve that motion. Either way, it would deny the project.
Right.
So
That's
his
why-
motion,
That's why we need a second.
his motion, if he had a second,
What was his motion again? Say your
to
motion
approve it
again.
as proposed.
As proposed.
So somebody needs to give that a second in order for us to get to a vote.
I will second that. Just
Okay,
so we
we
can
have
get
a
it to a
motion and a
vote.
second. Any discussion? let's have the vote.
There we go.
The motion fails with 6 noes and 1 absent.
Okay, next on the agenda is reports and discussions, but before we jump into department reports and everything, Natalie has a,
Oh, mine's just a department report, I think.
Huh?
isn't it? Oh, no, it's not. You're right.
no, it's not.
Okay.
Do you want to do it or not?
No, I do. I can do it. I can do it in 5 minutes.
No, time is yours. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what I would have, but I didn't.
Everybody, listen up.
Or I can do it next week. I gave you papers. I'm just doing, because we're the Historic Advisory Committee.
Mention what she just said also, what Lon just said.
We're trying to be kind to a new commissioner.
Commissioner Jenkins had asked if he could still open the convenience store. Yes, because that is approved by right within that zoning. But I also told Commissioner Jenkins that the applicant can appeal this denial to council.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just to let you everybody know. Did he leave? He will be right back. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to give an update since we're the Historic Advisory Committee on, really quickly, things that are happening in the Historic District. And the one I printed for you, I think I told you that we have walking tours, the first Saturday, downtown historic walking tours. And we,
Saturday of each month?
yes, so first Friday, then first Saturday is the downtown historic walking tour. We've had like, I don't know, 8 people, 10 people, 20 people tops. This time, Daniel Ballard went through through Miners Alley and looked at things, and then went through the residential district, and we opened up 3 homes in the residential district, and we had 110 people.
Wow.
And we were so excited, and the people were thrilled. So there is excitement about downtown. And this first building, this white building, is the Hecker House. Absolutely beautiful Italianate. On the other corner, you have Judge Gray's house, which is a Gothic. And then you have the Vandergrift House, which is a Queen Anne. And then you have the Sparks home next to that. They're all original homes with the founding of the city. So I was just greatly encouraged that many people came from out of town.
Did they go through yours?
Yes, they went through mine.
Which one's yours?
The green one, the one that with the 2 palm trees.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, because you were in there.
Well, the heck, I didn't know what.
Yes, that's the Vandergrift home.
Vandergrift. Oh.
Alberta, who's with the, Alberta, Tracy, she's so
Republican.
wonderful.
The Eamon home.
Thank you. She spoke, she dressed up, Jim Lenoff came. Anyway, it was exciting for Oroville. There were mainly people from Chico, and I was just so excited that they wanted to come. The other pamphlet I gave you is on the City of Paris building, which I know many of you are real estate agents, so I'm concerned about the building. It's a beautiful building, especially that sign that is located on that key corner right across from the State Street Theater. I would love to see that sign preserved. It's placed, so you can see it from Robinson and Myers. This City of Paris building, Ellsworth Meyer founded it in 1903. He was on a different location in Bird Street. He built this building in, I think, 1912. It was continuously used as a high-end, a retail shop. You can see the ads in there. I think it lasted until 1985. The Chamberlains ran it for a while, and it is one of their descendants is still alive and in Oroville. He was on the Chamber of Commerce, Ellsworth Meyer. He's got a great story. But anyway, that building, I feel like it's at risk. It's been abandoned for so long. I don't know if it really is for sale. I've heard that developers in town want to purchase it, and they haven't been able to. Like developers we would love to see purchase it. I would love to see the sign not be allowed to take down or see it protected. It really, especially being across from the State Street Theater, it's like that just would complement bringing that sign back. And that entry to the city when you drive through from Myers would just be wonderful to keep.
Is someone proposing to take down the sign?
No. It's just, I just want us to be aware of it because it's for sale. And I don't know, I was wondering if there's a way we could protect a sign.
Do you know what the cost is to preserve that
I'm
sign?
sure it's a lot of money. So then my next thing is,
Have you
how
looked
about we get
into
the
that?
city?
Have you looked into that?
No, but I'm going to guess 10, 20 grand.
So, several years ago, Bud Tracy, I believe, proposed restoring it.
Did he?
But I don't know.
There was a proposal, but it never gained traction. No, but the city, I know, and I speak for myself with this as well, would like to see the sign preserved as a historic monument, basically, to downtown and the history.
And if we could light it and it would just complement. So that's all. That's just my update. I would like to know if the building is actually for sale or is it kind of held captive for some reason. I don't like this idea of just empty buildings that look like they're for sale, but it can't accept any offers. I don't know if that's just a rumor.
Signs in the window for rent?
There is a sign in the window. It appeared
Richard
to be
Ellis.
new.
I've just talked to people who's called, so it could be a rumor.
Does it say for sale or for rent?
Sale. 920,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's.
I wonder if it's been changed on the inside due to the county. Wasn't it county?
Yes, the county was there. No, it still looks that way, at least in the pictures. But I know I've talked to some people in town who want to develop it. You know, nice apartments up on top, great retail in the front. That'd be wonderful. It's a cool spot right next to the State Theater. It's just a wonderful location. So that's all. That's just my little update to get us thinking about that wonderful building.
All right. Can staff look into, doesn't this body sit also as a historic or something?
That's what we are.
Historical advisory.
So, is there some way we could bring this subject back to us as a body and, you know, kind of discuss maybe some way of developing an ordinance or something to preserve it as a historic thing?
Get a landmark?
A landmark,
landmark building?
something or get it registered, or is that possible?
We'll have to look into that. I think that registering it may have to be completed by the owner of the property, but we will look into that further.
And then report back to us
Yes.
next meeting? Okay, great.
When you look at the,
And then also, Don, I'm sorry.
all right, when you look at the Historical Advisory Commission, what it talks about the duties, it is to advise the city council of the historic nature and historic value of any of our landmarks, and to recommend specific guidelines subject to city council for the designation and developments of landmarks. So, and to promote the historical part. So that is part of our committee.
But I think it would start here.
It does start here, yeah. It says.
That's why I'm saying that if we can get something back from the staff at the next meeting, then we can decide how to get it before us, what the procedure is, in the following meeting, act as the Historic Commission, and then make a recommendation if we can come to grips with it to the City Council. And that might get us where you want to go.
It'd be wonderful. We have a beautiful downtown. People love it. We just need to, I want to keep encouraging that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don,
Well,
I'm behind you. Now that falls under the sign ordinance that we just passed also. So if that comes down to be repaired, it creates it falls under the sign ordinance for, that's just something you need to look into.
Right.
Right.
No, and I'll look into that again. I don't remember exactly
I
the
think
parameters.
if you can repair it where it's at, then nothing changes. But if it comes off, then.
I thought it was given a timeline.
well, I thought the
give it-
ordinance said that you could take it off to repair it, but you had to put it back exactly the way it
So-
was.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
Modify it.
With that kind of sign, it would be considered, let's just say it's a non-conforming. So if it's non-conforming, you could take it down with the new sign code, do structural, electrical, any safety-related repairs, and put it back up. So long as if it doesn't expand that.
As long as you don't
sign.
change it,
Right.
basically. So
I'm glad
that's
your
okay.
memory's better than mine.
Okay, we got over that hurdle. All right, the next item is department reports and commissioner reports. Department have any reports?
Yes, we have some upcoming projects to consider. The May 13th Development Review Committee will discuss 3 different projects where applications have recently been submitted. One is to complete a drive-through lane behind the building at 2040 3rd Street. That is at behind the Chevron station at 3rd and Grand. There's a vacant commercial building there. Applicant has proposed a drive-through, so we'll be working with them. on that. Secondly, the application has come in for the Cascade Apartments. I believe that's 72 units. Is that right?
Roughly.
Next to Boulder Creek on Mitchell, across from the recently approved senior housing there. So there's a very narrow, deep lot between the Feather River Park District and the Boulder Creek Apartments that's vacant, and they're proposing to put a multifamily project in there, affordable. Thirdly, we have an application for an Arby's use permit drive-through for the vacant commercial pad next to the KFC on Oroville Boulevard. There used to be an Arby's in town, yes. And for the council on May 4th, 711 Montgomery, the second reading of that ordinance will occur on May 4th. And that would complete the approval process for that project. And then the sign code, we have been promised will go before the council on May 18th. That is still with the city attorney. And staff is so directed to look at the City of Paris sign and how to make it a landmark.
Mm-hmm. You took my items, so we're good. That was what I had.
Okay. If there's nothing else that needs to come before the commission, I'll adjourn the meeting. Next meeting is May 27th this year.